YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to the Off the Schneid 2020 NFL Preview Series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their rosters, their schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time at the channel, do me a massive favor, hit that like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and check the description for links to social media for Off the Schneid. Follow us on there as well. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com for helping me to make these videos. I'm on their website almost daily, and if you're a serious football fan, guys, you need to have this website bookmarked, favorited, whatever it is. Helps me at draft time, fantasy football purposes, when creating bet slips, as well as DFS lineups. It's your one-stop shop for NFL scouting services. There's a link in the description for OurLads.com as well as the social media. Do me a favor again, hit that like and subscribe button. But enough of that. Let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. What's up, guys? We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys today. I'm pretty excited about this one. One of my good buddies is a huge Cowboys fan, so I know he'll be looking forward to watching this one. I'm going to start right off the top, and it's going to probably come off like I'm a huge Cowboys homer for some reason. I am absolutely not. I actually kind of hate the Cowboys. I am not a fan at all. But I like a lot of their players. I like them going into their drafts, their respective drafts. And now it's frustrating because I like a lot of their players, but I hate the team. So I'm kind of stuck in this like limbo in between where I like the players, but hate the team and want the team to lose, but I like the players. So we'll start it off with quarterback. We got Dak Prescott, obviously, as you got franchise tagged. They're trying to work out a deal. Here's the thing. I love Dak Prescott. I absolutely love Dak Prescott. I was a massive fan and massive believer of him coming into his draft. I am on record as saying he was my number 2 quarterback in that draft. I had him behind Jared Goff in that draft going into it. You can say what you want because I had Carson Wentz pretty low, but I really was really high on Dak Prescott, and then gets drafted by the Cowboys. I'm upset with that, but then he kind of kills it. So anyone that says Dak Prescott isn't elite and isn't legit and I don't know. There's people that say some ridiculous things about Dak Prescott, and all I have to say is you're just a Cowboys hater, and you just want him to not succeed. You want the Cowboys to lose, all this kind of stuff. If you look at his numbers, there's just no way you can convince anyone that he's not an elite quarterback. He's not a Pro Bowl, all pro type of a quarterback. As a rookie, 5th round rookie, he had 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and then he ran for another 6 as well. That's almost 30 touchdowns as a rookie. That is very difficult to do. Every season, he's had minimum 28 touchdowns for 4 years, minimum. That's elite. I'm telling you, that's elite numbers. Almost had 5,000 passing yards last year. So with a 1,300 plus yard rusher. He scrambles, runs around. He's gotten 6 rushing touchdowns for his first 3 years. He fell down to 3 last year, but he bumped up his passing touchdowns. So don't try to convince me that Dak Prescott is not an elite quarterback. It's just hate, and I don't really know. That's all I have to say about that. With the Dak Prescott contract and the franchise tag, I've been saying since this whole thing has started. And this is what I believe is the Cowboys, Dak Prescott's agent, and obviously us fans in the football world are waiting for the Patrick Mahomes deal. So that's going to set the market of the very top. This is the top. This is the best quarterback in the world. This is what he makes. You are not there, Dak Prescott. I'm sorry. You are not the best quarterback in the NFL. So you got to pull it back a little bit, and then we'll see kind of where it falls. If Patrick Mahomes signs a $45 million contract, then, the Cowboys are going to be stuck paying that $40 million for Dak. If he signs a $40 million, then you could pull it back to, say, 36 or something like that. We'll see how it shakes out, but that's what I believe is going on. They're waiting for the Patrick Mahomes contract to get sorted out, and then they'll figure it out from there. So we'll see what happens. And then they went out and signed my my guy. And this is not it sucks for me because Andy Dalton, I'm a Bengals fan. I love Andy Dalton, and this is a perfect spot for him to go. if he ends up starting games this year, the Cowboys could still be a playoff team, even if Andy Dalton's the starter. Like, that's a very real possibility. We'll get into that, but it sucks for me because I don't like the Cowboys. I really do not, but I get stuck with liking a lot of their players, and I love their build-up. The makeup of this team is fantastic, except for on the defensive side of the ball, but like I said, we'll get there. So let's move to running back. They have an all-world running back, one of the best running backs in the league. I like Ohio State. I'm an Ohio State football and basketball fan, not so much basketball in recent years. I really like Thad Matta for a lot of years, but I'm getting a little off topic, but I like Ohio State. I'm a Bengals fan, obviously that makes a little bit of sense. And Zeke, of course, he goes to the Cowboys. It's just frustrating. And then either way, so he's an all-world, he's a top 3 running back in the NFL right now, for sure. No question. He's on pace to be a Hall of Famer, absolutely. Tony Pollard is a solid complimentary back. He played pretty well last year. I really like the Darius Anderson pickup. I think he was undrafted free agent. He was definitely an undrafted free agent, and he had a very good Senior Bowl and not a bad combine. He was kind of underrated and overlooked, I guess. And that's a great get for the Cowboys. He might play some downs this year for them, but we'll see. I just think that was a great pick for them. Great pickup. And then even Olawale as their fullback. If you've watched a few of these, I like fullbacks that can play, and he can absolutely play. He can block, catch passes out of the backfield. He's one of the better fullbacks in the game, in my opinion. So there you go. The backfield for the Cowboys is pretty stacked, in my opinion, as long as Dak Prescott's playing. Blake Jarwin should take a very nice step forward. He's kind of been a mirror image of himself for the last 2 seasons, but he's kind of been, brought along slowly, learning the offense, learning under Jay Witt, that kind of a thing. Witten's obviously moved on to the Raiders, which was a bit of a surprise to me. But then now Blake Jarwin's gonna get his shot to kind of be the guy. Dalton Schultz too. He's been brought along similar to how Blake Jarwin has been, and Blake Bell was a good pickup in the offseason. But I like Jarwin to probably have about 50 catches, maybe 600 yards and about 5 touchdowns, something like that, and he could exceed those numbers. So if you're in your fantasy football type of guy, that's a tight end to definitely target, in my opinion. One of the best offensive lines in football, absolutely. They were the second best for sacks allowed with 23 last season. And then obviously Zeke's numbers can speak to the offensive line. They lost Cam Fleming and Suafilo to the Bengals. Cam Fleming went to the Giants with Jason Garrett, but it's completely fine. They went out and signed Cam Irving from the Chiefs, who just won a Super Bowl. They got Connor McGovern as a backup. They just drafted Tyler Biadasz to fill in maybe for Travis Frederick. They got Joe Looney, but if Joe Looney just isn't quite ready or stumbles, whatever it is, Travis Frederick was a starter for Wisconsin at center. Tyler Biadasz, starter, Wisconsin center. So they just replaced the Wisconsin center with a Wisconsin center. That's a great draft pick. And the Cowboys had an absolutely fantastic, one of the best drafts in this year's draft. Absolutely. They killed it on every level. Everywhere that I thought they were weak, and I'm not saying I know more than anyone, or I you know what I mean? I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about, and every weakness that I thought the Cowboys had, they touched on. Except for, for me, wide receiver wasn't really a weakness, but when CeeDee Lamb falls into your lap like that, I mean, they did lose Randall Cobb, so I guess they needed to fill that hole, and you filled it with one of the best receivers in the draft, in my opinion. I actually had him as my number 1, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, if guys like Connor McGovern, Cam Irving, and Tyler Biadasz are rotational or fill-in guys or depth players on your offensive line, you're doing pretty well. They have one of the best in the business. And then wide receivers, another guy I really love, CeeDee Lamb, I just said it, and then Michael Gallup I really, really like. I have Michael Gallup as my number 1 wide receiver on this team. Even with Lamb, that might not be the case, next season, but coming into this season, I'm very high on Michael Gallup. I was higher before they drafted CeeDee Lamb to steal some targets from him, but I definitely still think that Michael Gallup's going to exceed 1,000 yards and probably around that 8 touchdown mark, probably 70 or so catches, something like that. A very good fantasy contributor as well as obviously in real life. But this offense is built to compete with everyone and anyone in the NFL. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL. Make no mistake about it. They're right there with the Chiefs. Anyone else in the league, they can compete on the ground, in the passing game, whatever you want. Obviously, this is an extremely important year for Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator. They obviously just hired Mike McCarthy to be their head coach. He's going to give Kellen Moore a shot. If he stumbles even the slightest, I think that he will be let go. And if they stumble early, it's potentially going to be within the season. We'll see. And realistically, he should be held to hide behind the stats like he did last year, in my opinion. I actually don't particularly like Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator. He is still super young and there's tons of time to grow and improve and learn, but I don't particularly agree with him learning on the job in the NFL. It's not... some guys can, but he was brought along a lot quicker. Even Byron Leftwich, who is being touted as potentially a head coach candidate, maybe even next season, he was brought along quite a bit slower than Kellen Moore. So we'll see, and he should be okay. And like I said, he can probably hide behind those stats, but we'll see what happens. We'll move over to the defensive side of the ball. They just hired Mike Nolan to be their new defensive coordinator, which I absolutely love. That is a fantastic hire. I really like Mike Nolan. He doesn't have a ton to work with, if I'm being honest, but he's very creative, and I think that he's definitely the guy to do the best job with what he has, in my opinion, if that makes any sense. They lost some major pieces on defense, which is really going to kind of show, in my opinion, this year. They lost Robert Quinn to the Bears. Obviously, Byron Jones to the Dolphins, which was a massive loss. But a guy like Malik Collins, I think that's a big time loss for this defense, a big time loss. I think it's really going to show, and it's really going to hurt. Even a guy like Jeff Heath, who was just kind of a leader. He was definitely a leader on this defense, and he did a lot of different things for them. That might show up a little bit. They signed a few guys. Clinton Dix, I think, is going to be just fine, and Xavier Woods I like as well as safety, so you can kind of hide that Jeff Heath loss. But where I think they're going to struggle, and let's start on the back end, I guess. I really like what they did at corner, considering they lost Byron Jones, and I think it was a bit of a weakness for this team last year. But they went out and signed Daryl Worley, Maurice Kennedy, and then drafted Reggie Robinson and Trevin Diggs. Trevin Diggs, I think it's Stephon Diggs' little brother. I think he's going to be a very good corner in this league. Alabama guy, I think he's going to be very good, and it's potentially this season. He might start over Anthony Brown. We'll see. But either way, they have that depth, and they built that depth, which is very good, very, very quality right there. And then Jordan Lewis in the slot, Awuzie, I really like. They've done a great job in the back end. I think, and I got into a few heated arguments with my buddy there about the safety position for the Cowboys. I thought they were perfectly fine. Haha and Xavier Woods are perfectly fine in my opinion, and they had bigger holes on that defense, including corner, which they addressed. And the big question mark is going to be at linebacker for this team. All these guys are pretty injury prone. Leighton Vander Esch, we're not really sure what's going on there. I don't know what his health looks like right now. I really like Leighton Vander Esch. I think he could be one of the better linebackers in the NFL if he's healthy and playing every week. Sean Lee, for me, is not a starter anymore. They maybe one of these undrafted rookies that have come in, or Joe Thomas maybe. We'll see who kind of starts for maybe they bring in a veteran or something like that. I'm not sure who's out there, to be honest with you. Jalen Smith kind of regressed last season. He's going to have to get back to his previous form, but they're all kind of injury prone question marks a little bit. So that might be a bit of a weakness. They might have a hard time stopping the run is kind of what I'm getting at as well. They'll get some help from the safeties, but I think that, if all these guys are healthy, they'll be just fine, but that's a big question mark for me. The biggest issue I'm going to have with the Cowboys is getting after the quarterback. They were middle of the pack, 39 sacks last year, getting after the quarterback, but they lost Robert Quinn, Michael Bennett's gone, and Malik Collins, who are 3 of the top 4 in getting after the quarterback, getting sacks last year. DeMarcus Lawrence played all year and only had five sacks. He's got to take a step forward. Absolutely. He's got to get back to who he can be, but that's going to be tough. He's going to need some help, and who's going to help him? I don't know. Neville Gallimore was a great pickup. I really like that. Gerald McCoy at one point was an extremely good disruptive force in the interior line, but Tyrone Crawford, I don't know. I mean, there's Aldon Smith and Randy Gregory that are coming back supposedly. We'll see if both of them or one of them are actually on this team come September. But those guys could help, but we don't know where they're at right now, really. Like, they haven't played in the league in, 3 and 4 years or 2 and 4 years or something like that. That's not a great... I'm not ready to, hitch my wagon to that horse, I'll tell you that much. Bradley and I really like... I think he's going to need to put on a couple pounds to be a defensive end. He can still be a rotational, get after the quarterback guy, but he's a smaller defensive end as a rookie. Might struggle a little bit. I thought he was another guy that could have been the MVP of the Senior Bowl. He had, I think, 3 sacks or something like that. He was definitely absolutely super disruptive, but Tyrone Crawford is not the guy. I mean, they need someone else. Gerald McCoy is a little bit older. He can still disrupt the pass for sure. He can still get after the quarterback, especially if they're lining up McCoy and Lawrence side by side. That'll be and then maybe Jalen Smith coming behind him. That would be very nice. But I mean, you can't. It's not something you can rely on every play. But Mike Nolan is a great coach, and I think he can definitely get the best out of the guys that he does have. Antoine Woods is there as well. I mean, there's just nothing screaming. I do like what they have in the back end. I think the back end is their strength, to be honest with you, and then they might have a tough time stopping the run. So, but this offense is going to keep them in any game, every single game. This offense is going to be able to keep them in the game no matter what. They just have too much talent on this offense as long as Dak Prescott's on this team playing. So let's take a look at their prediction and their schedule heading into 2020. So here's the schedule and the low, high, my record prediction for the Cowboys. I'm predicting and projecting them to win this division. I think that they absolutely improve on last season, which was definitely a letdown, an absolute letdown. I just think that this offense is just too good, and they'll be in too many games with this offense. And the defense just has to kind of bend, don't break, keep up, play good team defense under Mike Nolan, and then they should be able to win a bunch of games. So the odds makers have them as a favorite, 2-1 on your money for the Cowboys to win the division here. I think that those odds are pretty fine. I mean, the Cowboys and the Eagles, the thing is there hasn't been a repeat division champion in this division in the NFC East since 2003, 2002, 2003, or 2003, 2004, something like that, and it was the Eagles. So that's a lot of years where it's just been kind of bounced around back and forth, mostly the Cowboys and Eagles. The Giants been in there a few times as well, and then the Redskins once or twice, or 2 or 3 times, something like that, but I think twice. Either way, there hasn't been a repeat champion in this division in, almost 20 years? So I'm personally picking the Cowboys to win this. That is something that I know that's not how football math works, but that is something that you kind of have to subscribe to a little bit when it's that obvious and that clear cut. So there you go. Let's take a look at the schedule. Week 1, they open up in LA in the brand new stadium with the Rams. If there are fans in the stands, we'll see. That will obviously change this game. Absolutely. I think if there are not fans in the stands, the Cowboys win this game 100%. If there are fans in the stands, I definitely give the Rams a better shot, but it's hard to really know where their fan base is going to be at. It's obviously a new team. It's hard. That's why teams have always struggled in LA, is because it's hard to build a fan base, and teams. Yeah, I'm not going to waste your time with that mumbo jumbo, but it's a Sunday night game, so everybody will be watching. I like the Cowboys to win that game, even if there are fans, to be honest with you. I like the Cowboys to win that game. At home against Atlanta, that is probably going to be a shootout. That's probably going to be a run and gun. Both teams are throwing up, 30 points almost, right around there. It might be a 35-28 game, maybe more so. Both of them have pretty weak defenses and quite good offenses. So that should be a fun game. But I think at home with fans, the Cowboys get that win. At Seattle, extremely tough game. A very, very, very tough game. Obviously, this is a narrative in football and sports. It's home field advantage we're talking about, so it's massive. If there are fans in the stands, Seattle probably gets that win. They might just be a more balanced team than the Cowboys. I absolutely give the boys a shot to win that game for sure. But we'll kind of see how it shakes out. The Week 4 game against the Browns, that should be a tough game. That'll be an interesting one. The Browns could start pretty hot and heavy. I do like the Browns this season. And the Cowboys are potentially facing 3 playoff teams in their first 4 games. I think the Falcons could be. I definitely think the Seahawks and the Browns, I think, are both playoff teams. So that's a tough kind of first quarter of the season for the Cowboys. But realistically, I could definitely see them going 3-1, at least 2-2 in this schedule. So that kind of tells you where my fluctuation came with the low and the high. Is kind of these games that are like almost toss-ups type of a thing. First game against the Giants at home, I absolutely think the Cowboys get that win at home. At home against the Cardinals, again, that'll be a really tough game. The Cards definitely have a better defense for sure. They've got a really decent defense and a much improved offense. So again, that might be another shootout, another running gun game with the Cardinals. Monday night game, again, the Cowboys get a lot of primetime games. They always do. They always have. It just is what it is. You kind of deal with it when you're not a big Cowboys fan, but you kind of learn to, accept it. Next week, Week 7 against the Redskins at Washington. The Washington defense is phenomenal. If I haven't done the Redskins episode yet, but I will be today. The Redskins defense is absolutely fantastic. Their offense is not so much. And it's just kind of, I just see that being it's only a matter of time type of thing for the Cowboys. The defense can only do so much. I don't think that they could beat the Cowboys. I don't think the Redskins defense can beat the Cowboys offense over the course of 4 quarters. I just don't think that they could do that when the offense I know can't keep up with the Cowboys. It's just kind of a fact. I do like the Redskins a lot, and if you want to go watch that one, absolutely. At Philadelphia, it's easy for me to say this, but I'm giving them a split with the Eagles. It's pretty fair. It's pretty easy to split them. Another primetime game at home against the Steelers, much like the Redskins. It's very, very similar game structure in my opinion. It's just a matter of time before they get out in front and win the games, especially at home. So I definitely like the Cowboys to beat the Steelers there right before their bye. That is a very good bye week for the Cowboys, Week 10. Very good spot for them to have their bye. I absolutely see the Cowboys being a playoff team, whether they win the division or not. I see them being a playoff team, and I like if I'm a playoff team, I want my bye week to be later in the season. I always want that. And it's not the latest, but it's pretty late in the season, and you're happy to have that late bye week, in my opinion. Coming off the bye at Minnesota, indoors, Minnesota in November is chilly, but this is an indoor stadium. The Cowboys can just run like track meet style, and almost probably at least 2 of the starting, maybe 3 corners for the Vikings are rookies. Yeah, 2 of the 3 are rookies. So they're not going to be able to keep up with these wide receivers throughout, again, the course of 4 quarters. And the offense is not going to be able to keep up either, in my opinion. So I think they definitely go on the road and get the win against the Vikings. At home against Washington, you just heard what I said earlier. At Baltimore, I like the Ravens for sure. The Ravens are a fantastic team. They're built almost like perfectly. They have a fantastic defense and offense. I like the Ravens at home. At my Bengals in Cincinnati, I would love to pick my team, but they're probably not going to get that win. We'll see. I'm going to be rooting for the Bengals in that one. Yeah, that'll be a fun game. Then they go home and play the 49ers. I like the Niners in that game, even though it's in Dallas. I just think that their defense will be able to kind of neutralize a lot of the things that the Cowboys do, and they'll just pound the ball against them. If they are weak to the run, like I kind of predict that they are, I think the Niners can definitely get the better of the Cowboys in that game. We'll see, and that's late in the season, so a lot of things can change by the time we get there, but that should be a good game and a competitive game on another primetime game, which it deserves to be. Then at home against Philly, they probably get that win. So, yeah, if you're looking at quarters, the first and third quarter, they could go 3-1 in both the first and third quarter, which is a very good, very, very good. If you're going 6-2 in, the start and end of your season, as long as you don't fall flat on your face, you should be fine, which I absolutely don't expect them to do. Then they finish the season at New York with the Giants. That'll be an interesting one, and it's a common theme that I always bring up. There's one team that gets the first round bye now. It's possible that the Cowboys are in the running for that. If they are, then this is probably going to be a must-win game if they are in the running for the first round bye. Or they might be locked into like 2 or 3 seeds, something like that, just locked in, and they sit some starters. So it's going to be hard to. I'm not even going to project this game. It's very, very possible that the Giants win the game, and because the Cowboys are sitting players, or who knows? I could honestly see that being a very reasonable possibility, where the Cowboys just sit a bunch of starters and the Giants get the win because the Cowboys don't care. They're locked into their 2 or 3 seed, something like that, 4 seed maybe, whatever it is, or even as a wild card team. We'll see. I absolutely expect the Cowboys to make the playoffs, absolutely, and I absolutely expect them to contend for the division, and my prediction is for them to win the division. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments, and there's your breakdown and projection for the 2020 Dallas Cowboys.